Joining us anyhow is Auckland restaurateur, former mayoral Auckland candidate, Leah Molloy, and man about town, and Tina Nixon, who also has had a stint in local government as well as hosting on the platform. They join us this morning. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
And morning from Leo.
G'day, Leah. You're in Auckland. Listen, mate, restaurants, first of all, they're doing a freeze in Wellington, I know. Many of them closing down, mostly because they've got orange cones outside and it's stopping people getting to them. But nevertheless, they are closing down. Is there a general trend in Auckland as well that restaurants are closing down too because of the economic conditions, or not?
Yeah, absolutely, and we're certainly not immune to it. I see there's a little bit of hype, various entities or agencies trying to talk it up, but I was with Mark Mitchell the other night and I was telling him about it, and he asked to have a look at my phone, which we have real-time tracking data on there, budget versus what you're actually doing, and it looked like we were doing okay, but as I pointed out to him, when everybody's trimmed their budget back by 30%, which we have this year, and you still can't do budget, that's a bit of a concern. So we're not immune to it. We're nearly out of it, though. We've got Melbourne Cup in about, 12 days' time now, 11 days' time or something, and then we've got Christmas events and functions, so I'm not too bothered. But yes, certainly there is a trend across the entire sector.
Is it just a simple bust and boom, the simple cycle of economics that you're looking at, or do you think it's a part of a longer trend there, Leo?
Well, we've been in the same location since 2017. We've shifted building, but only we're right next door. So I would have thought what I'm feeling now is fairly indicative, and I personally feel it's in Auckland anyway. I'm not sure about the rest of the country. I understand Wellington has its problems too, but in Auckland, I would say it's more a reflection of the sentiment of the prevailing customer. I mean, we've got young customers who don't have mortgages, who don't seem to care, but they're 1.5 nights a week. Luckily, today's one of those days. But I think it's an older style customer who doesn't perhaps drink a $150 bottle of wine. They'll now just have a $30 bottle of wine, if they have a bottle of wine at all, that is. So, I think it's more a reflection of an older customer who has a mortgage, who has to exercise a degree of restraint.
What about you, Tina? Do you still go out for a restaurant, have a meal, bit of a leer up?
Yeah, well, I was actually in Wellington yesterday and went to 2 restaurants, one for lunch. It was a long lunch. It was a wake for a very old, now dead, publican here in Wellington, Ali Holden, who used to have the Cricketers' Arms. So there was quite a crew of people, and be fair to say they're all long lunches, and it was definitely a topic of conversation for us. We were in a mid-city restaurant which was half full. One of the guys was a supplier to restaurants in the restaurant trade. He said it's the hardest time he's ever had. And he said the supermarkets are also making life really difficult too for a lot of suppliers, so deleting a lot of lines, playing lots of hardball with suppliers. There was a general, it's really quiet. I was at Pravda for breakfast this morning for a coffee, and same thing. I mean, it used to be bloody hard to get a table there for breakfast, and no problem this morning. You can definitely feel it. And Wellington feels a bit sad, but the Post has a story this morning I thought which was really interesting. So Fran Wild, Kerry Prendergast and a whole heap of others, Bob Jones, have all got together and almost formed what is a pseudo-council to try and sort shit out, which is really interesting.
Yeah, well...
I
was just going to go to the next thing on that, Leo, and that was the appointment of the Crown Observer into Wellington. But Tina says something, Leo, and I wonder if it's the same in Auckland, but Wellington I don't think has ever looked as bad as it does now. You could say the same about Dunedin, and people are as well. Is there a way out of, and Leo, you've been a political aspirant, so have you, Tina, is there a way out of Wellington's predicament at all?
Well, I think this group may hold some answers because they're all pretty kick-ass people, like Mike Egan's in there, so they've got some of the restaurant boys in there, they've got businessmen, they've got philanthropists, and they've got ex-public servants and ex-mayors. So they're the sort of people who can sort of gather up staff and launch a few campaigns to sort of, I actually think as a social marketer, what they sort of need is Wellington to feel good about itself again. And so it's like, let's concentrate on what's really good and try and get people to start thinking more positively. But people just don't go out like they used to. I mean, even I don't. I always was out at least 2 or 3 times a week. I'll be lucky to be 2 or 3 times a month now.
Is there a similar feeling in Auckland, or do you just look at Wellington as a sad and pathetic capital at the moment, Leo?
Well, we look at who you elected as your mayor down there, and that kind of derives our feelings. They all stem or grow from that. So I don't think Auckland has anything like the same sort of problems. I mean, our biggest problem up here is controlling the CCOs, which is obviously water care and transport, etc., Panuku. But other than that, I don't think our city council has no suggestion it's out of control at all. Although I do notice the mayor's off on an international, I suppose you'd call it a junket, wouldn't you? He's off to bloody South America, then somewhere else, and apparently he's going to go and embrace the new world economy, you reckon? So that'll be interesting to see how that comes off. I hope he does a good job of it.
The interesting thing, though, is that I see this group of worthies that have put themselves together. You've just talked about Tina. They're not sitting around the council table, though, making the decisions. They might act as a pressure group.
I think, actually, if there's an observer in there and they're strong enough to recommend to the council, it'll be a brave council not to take on some of the observations of the observer. And if this group, I think this group is going to be more around the promotions, and that's they're going to head in that path, and looking at what are the barriers that need to be taken out. And I mean, the cycleway stuff here in Wellington is just appalling. When you have 5 bakeries, I think in 2 weeks, basically just turned turtle because people couldn't park outside, basically because of the cycleways, and they've taken up so many parks. So people are really anti-cycling here.
No, I understand that, but they're identifying this group, this particular group that you're talking about. There's 18 Luminaries and Worthies that have got together. As you say, it's the front page lead in the Post today, but they've got together essentially because they blame the council. They say, on the one hand, there's a crisis of confidence in Wellington. That's fine. Yes, I can see that. But they are saying that crisis of confidence is in good part due to the city council's handling of finances, overspending, lack of good leadership, infighting, ideology-fueled decision-making, blah, blah, blah. Unless you change, surely, the composition of the council, you won't change the direction, will you?
Well, I think they can still actually make some changes, and I've seen this happen in the Wairarapa, where this very similar sort of group got together and started to push on some of the big issues that actually mattered. So you can work around the council quite a lot. And these guys certainly have the ability to be able to do that. They can get in the ear of government really easily. And so we may see them make some submissions to government about what's actually happening here in Wellington. So I wouldn't dismiss them as just a few people getting around and thinking they're going to solve stuff. These guys will get shit done, and they will find the ways to do that.
Good luck. I'm looking at a whole lot of people there that have never done anything in their lives, but, that's fine.
Well, there's a lot of people
I don't think Wellington can be saved.
Michael.
Well, at the end of the day, the Wellington public sector is the Wellington public sector. I mean, you can't save a place that's feeling sorry for itself. And if they keep on feeling sorry for themselves, good luck. I mean, what do you think?
What I said.
Yeah. Leo, okay, is that a New Zealand problem though, Leo? Have we got a crisis of confidence in New Zealand at the moment? Are we all feeling a bit drab because, well, we're in one of those inevitable economic cycles? We're at the bottom of it. You do feel a bit miffy at that time.
Well, we're conflating quite a few issues here, aren't we? Because clearly Wellington is Wellington. I mean, it's unique. You've got Joel McManus down there on behalf of the spin-off trying to talk the city up, but apart from Joel McManus, there's not too many others down there who are firm disciples or believers in the council. I don't think Auckland's ridden with that problem, but Auckland, on the other hand, does have a preoccupation with matters pertaining to fiscal management of the country, and to Adrian Orr doing his job or not doing his job, as the case may be. So I think you're conflating various issues here. I was very intrigued by what Tina had to say the other day. She's always fun to listen to because she's an expert in the field when it comes to going out. Speaking of which, going out, I was always teamed up with the bloke from the Backbencher Hotel. What's his name? Where's he got to? Is he just
Boise.
Boise. What's happened to Boise, Tina?
I haven't seen him on this trip. I was sort of more in the middle of town rather than down by Parliament. But he's been on the platform a few times over the last few weeks.
Okay. Listen, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, if I might too, is Andrew Bailey. It's been, for reasons that are beyond me, that story has lasted and lasted and lasted. You've seen a lot of bad behaviour in your time, Leo. You've probably been responsible for a bit of it. Is he getting a bit too much of a going over from the media, or does he deserve everything he's getting?
Well, if he just shut up and said nothing of his feet, wouldn't he? But he keeps changing the story or tweaking it. And I don't know what's going on there. It seems a bit bizarre to me, but it's not the first transgression by a national MP. It won't be the last transgression by a national MP. I would have thought he's better off just to say nothing and let it all move on. I'd be more concerned about the integrity of the individual who works for the Spyglass Winery and see what his credentials are. See, he's now claiming or laying claim to having done 5 years in the Defence Forces, which is interesting. I'd like to know which Defence Force and what role he had, but he seems to be one of the people who's pushing the barrow, to use one of your sort of phrases, Michael. So I think probably should.
Well, is it time that that person's name was out there, because he's deliberately made this a public issue? He sought to make it a public issue. Why is his identity being protected? Can you explain that?
I agree with that. I mean, there's no bloody way that his identity should be protected, and it was a very staged, managed takedown of Bailey. I think Bailey was probably a bit of a dick, but at the end of the day, he didn't probably deserve all that. But it does look like, when you send everything to the opposition and stuff like that, that's a staged, managed political hit job.
You're after something. Yeah, absolutely.
And I stand with Tina on this. We stand with our arms linked together, Tina and I.
Good on you. Listen, on that though, John Key got rid of people who made embarrassing mistakes like that. I think back to, for example, backbench MP Aaron Gilmore, who lurched and drunk and said, "Do you know who I am?" trying to keep the bar open at some event. He was gone. Bailey defended. Different prime ministerial styles here?
I think it's different transgressions too. I mean, Andrew would have actually probably been trying to be funny.
Yes.
He's a bit of an odd. I wouldn't call him odd, but he has
he is odd. Let's be honest about it. He's odd.
Okay, he's odd, but he's also very smart, and I think he just was trying to be a funny bastard basically, and it didn't work. Whereas Aaron Gilmore lied, had a flight to fancy. He was a shocker, still is, and he'll be listening today because he's a big fan of the bloody platform. But I think they were totally different.